Hello, I have Tara with me, and she's going to share some of her experiences as we did some coaching together in the past with gentle trauma release. And she's willing to share some of her story to help other women who might relate to what she was going through. So, if you want to share, Tara, first, what made you feel like you might want to consider getting some kind of support? Like, what kind of brought you to that point where you thought you might want some support?
I feel that, I mean, I tried to do a lot of things on my own, and I finally realized that after 5 years of struggling, that I needed to make a change, and I needed to reach out to someone, and just to try and help me deal with some things that were going on with me, loss and everything else. And I finally I saw this. I reached out because I also have done some gym classes, workout classes with you, and yeah, I'd found out from one of the ladies that actually was in the class with us, one of them, and she said that you really helped her, and that's where I went. And I I'm very, very happy that I did. Very happy. It's really helped me a lot.
Yeah. I know we initially connected with fitness because you were wanting to do something good for yourself, right?
Yes, 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 and build muscle. As we know, when we hit menopause, things start going like this, and we have to start taking care of ourselves. So, and that's what I did with the working out. And like I said, when I found out that you did the coaching for this gentle trauma release, I had to do it,
Yeah.
because I needed to do something,
Mhm.
and sure, I did do some counseling prior. To me, it just didn't work. It wasn't, what I needed. And this is what I needed. This is where it helped me try and find myself again,
Right.
the way I see it.
So
And
you were,
that's,
sorry, go ahead.
oh no, and I say that in trying to find myself again, is because I was so lost in so many ways and trying to deal with a lot of things, right? So yeah, so I feel that I'm back. I'm not the same Tara, but I love the Tara that I've become.
Yeah. So just so women listening can understand, if you were describing that you were struggling, can you tell a bit more about what did you mean by struggling? What did that look like for you?
I mean, and you know what? I don't mind talking about it. I lost my husband 7 years ago, and that was a real tough one. And then 4 years later, I lost my father, and then 2 years after that, I lost my mother. Excuse me, sorry. So I was really struggling, with a lot. Being abandoned. The way I felt, I was being abandoned. I was struggling with um, not they're not in my lives anymore. And I would do things, I would think that I was okay, but I would do things and I would start thinking of them, and I would have some bad anxiety over it. And I have not had one anxiety, probably, well, now I'd say probably 2 months. And I think that was about the time when you and I had our last session. And it's just, and to this day, I still sit and I still do my exercise. If I do start feeling a little, kind of heavy or anything, but it's not very often that that happens anymore. I'm quite happy with where I am now, and I just don't feel that I'm having those struggles that I did have. I wasn't eating properly. I wasn't taking care of myself. I was doing everything for everyone else, and
Right.
I was being last.
Yeah.
And these classes helped me put me first too.
Yeah. So for women listening, you did some in-person fitness training and that helped added to your self-care and
Exactly.
your foundation.
Yeah.
I'd like to share, like, there's a couple things that really stood out about what shifted in you, if I can share. And if you need a drink of water, just go ahead.
Yeah. Sorry.
Yeah, go ahead. One thing that really stood out is one of the pronounced symptoms that you had that was attached to the death of your husband. And for the women listening too, the loss of a loved one is compounded with trauma, with the shock of an event, and also the extreme loss of a life you were building, and your identity is very much wrapped up. So it's not simply the loss of someone you care about, so there's layers here of trauma attached to the grief.
Correct, correct. And it's, I struggled, you said I struggled with so much after my husband passed. I was so angry. I went through all the processes, but I wasn't taking care of me in order to do that. Yeah, losing a loved one it's tough, and everyone deals with it differently. And if I would have known that I could have, or if I would have found out this coaching from you 5 years ago, I would have done it, because I just didn't find, I think too, it was more personable, right? I loved the fact that, it's sure, I knew you through, working out and you coaching me there, but when you find that person that makes you feel comfortable, that you feel you can connect with, that's huge for me,
Yeah.
and you did that for me. Like you made me feel comfortable. You didn't. It wasn't, like how some people. When I went for counseling, I felt it was a different feeling, right? It was like they were trying to fix me, and I didn't need to be fixed. I needed someone to listen, really, and someone to, help and give me some things to help with that. And that's what this did. And I'm forever grateful for it.
Well, I want to mention a couple of things that really stood out from me from a coaching perspective and some of the symptoms that you were experiencing that were clearly connected to trauma. So,
Yeah,
for listeners, if you can trace back to an event and the symptoms attached to around the time of an event or a loss or a shock, it's likely a trauma symptoms. And I know for you, Tara,
absolutely.
you had, when we met, 5+ years of insomnia. And yes, menopause can contribute and other hormonal factors. But what literally blew my mind is that after our first coaching call, before we'd even unpacked a lot of your traumatic experiences, after our first coaching call, your sleep troubles miraculously just went poof.
Yeah, and they're still amazing.
Yeah.
I'm sleeping great every night, and that's where we would, I do the little, look around and do everything else. I would sit at the end of my bed. And I would do that before I went to sleep and after our first coaching call. And I tell you that it just helped so much. It just released so much. Yeah, I don't know how to really explain it other than the fact that I found me again. I love myself again.
Yeah.
And it took me a long time to love myself again
Love myself again is
and put me
pretty
first.
profound. It's pretty profound to be
Pardon
able
me?
to, it's pretty profound to be able to say I love myself at all for some people, but to say I love myself again is really, really like
Yeah.
that's everything,
Yeah.
right?
I used to be so hard on myself too,
Yeah.
right?
Even before this loss?
A little bit, but
Yeah,
not as bad as after the loss. I think, I mean, I think everyone can be a little hard on themselves at times,
of
right?
course.
But I just come to the realization that, you know what, I am who I am. Take it or leave it, you know.
That's it.
Everyone in this world's going through something. Right? And, especially women, like you and I had talked too before that women women shut things out, they hold things back, right? And more women need to lean on other women, right? Especially for stuff like this. And if there's women out there to help you, for example, then if you can find that person that you're connecting with and that will listen to you and help you, then you got to do it. It's to me, it's worth it. 100%.
So I'd like to share a little bit more about my perspective of some of the shifts in you. And you can
Yep.
interject anything you like. So we've initially met, we introduced you to some of the gentle trauma release protocols, which are working directly with your nervous system.
Yep.
And from day one call in, you already started to turn your sleep a complete 180 and stop the struggle with chronic 7-year insomnia, which to me is a huge step.
Yep.
And then some other shifts happened. So, what I'll share too is what can be a trauma symptom is an avoidance of a trigger that reminds you of a traumatic memory or an
Yeah.
event. And a way to tell that the trauma is cleared is you no longer have the avoidance. And I found that showed up for you.
It did. It did.
Would you like to elaborate just about
For one
this?
is, I think it was, I can't remember which call it was, because I do know that our last call was in regards to my father's passing more so. But I do know that the one call you and I did, I was really, really struggling with kind of unpacking a few things and going through some things from my late husband.
Yeah.
And that I kept putting it aside. I would go and I'd start doing things, and I would have to, I would start having my anxiety, and you and I had our call, and we had our discussion. We were doing the gentle trauma release and everything else. And it was 2 days after that call that I said, okay, we're doing this. And I went and I did it, and you know what? Like I told you, it felt good. It felt really good. I sat and I smiled lots, and I just remembered, and that really helped. It's I so many of the things that you and I talked about, or doing the trauma release and the exercises that we did, they're huge. They really helped huge.
Well,
And
enough.
I had some from my father as well, and I don't struggle with any of that anymore. And it feels good. It feels really good.
Well, one thing that really stands out is that you were able to last summer enjoy the lake all summer
Yes.
long.
Yes.
Previously, you could not bring yourself to go there because it was associated with trauma.
Yes.
And
Yes.
then, after addressing the traumatic events and emotions, you spent the summer at the lake with your friend.
Yeah, because that's where my husband had passed.
Yeah.
We had a lake lot out there, and he had passed at the lake lot. And I had ended up getting rid of it, but my girlfriend still lived out there, our friends. And I just couldn't bring myself to go out there until you and I did. I said, I got to do this. I felt so good out there. It felt so great. And I'm looking forward to it again this summer, to go out and, do boarding and everything else. And people have noticed it as well. Like my
Mhm.
daughter has noticed it.
Yeah. What did she say?
Like she's noticed that, I don't seem as on edge. I don't seem as stressed, or because I was a little bit snappy at times, right? Because it's just, now I'm just she's like, you're so like calm. I'm like, yeah.
And
She goes, wow. She goes, this really helped you. And I says, it did. It really, really did. And like she said, she goes, this is a different you, Mom. She says it's the same, but it's different. She goes, and I like it. So, and yeah, I'm very, very grateful.
yeah, that's a great testament when someone close to you notices those things. You're not
Yes.
making big pronouncements or even talking
No.
about it, but she's picking it up from you from just being around you because she knows you.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. Exactly. And it feels good when other people notice it.
Yeah. And this is
So,
like, those are a couple things that really stood out because getting your sleep back and being able
yeah.
to go back to the environment of the lake and enjoy it and be present in
Yes.
the current moment rather than
Yeah.
reliving the past was huge. And I also found too that you got clarity in things like relationships, like you, if I may say, like you kind of revisited a relationship, you were kind of not sure you were showing up
Yeah.
in a way that was in alignment, and you revisited this relationship as this new version of yourself, and things fell into place differently because you showed up
Yes.
differently.
Yes. Yeah. Because I mean, I guess, after a loss or whatever, you kind of, especially when you lose a spouse, it's really hard. Like, because you feel like, and that's one thing, that I was struggling with as well, that being with someone else. Like, I felt like I was, deceiving my late husband, and I felt guilty. And those were a lot of things, right? Where, I didn't think, and it wasn't fair to the person I was with, right? And I just, yeah, it opened up a new me,
Mhm.
right? And on how I have to deal with certain things. And it just made me more aware, I would say, for me and for, my surroundings and people around me. And it really helped my relationship. Like it really did.
Yeah, I noticed it seemed like you were just able to communicate your needs better
Yes.
and determine what your boundaries are in life,
Yes.
and that changed the way everything felt for you.
Yes. Yes, it did. It did.
Mm,
It changed a lot in how I felt,
yeah,
just how to approach things differently as well, right?
yeah, communicating and speaking your needs and speaking up, and also
Yeah.
maybe letting some walls down.
Yeah, that was a big thing, is letting walls down.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and I noticed too that you kind of started taking some courageous action, even with your work and putting yourself out there a bit more in a way before the inner critic was kind of taking over.
Yep, yep, yep. So now I'm doing casual work. in a seniors lodge, and I'm loving it because I feel like I'm helping, I'm making a difference, right? And I'm getting out there more, like, and before I was just, I'd hide and I'd just I'd be this little loner, right? Wallowing in my own life is the perfect word that I would say for me, because that's what I was doing. I was like the woe is me kind of thing. And yeah, it just now I'm like I go out, I do things. I'm getting out there. I'm enjoying life. Finally, again.
Yeah, and even like your body language is more open and relaxed. You're not like as tense and right, the body
Yes.
tension started to melt away right from the beginning.
Yeah.
So what surprised you about this process that, or maybe nothing did, but what, because you didn't really go into this knowing exactly what to expect. We're going to do some
I
coaching,
had
we're going to hopefully work somewhere, get somewhere in this trauma work. You didn't like necessarily counseling all that much for yourself.
and yeah, and to be honest, at first that's what I thought it was going to kind of be like, right? I'm thinking, oh boy, okay, well, you know what? I got to give this a go. Like especially when one of your clients had already said, oh gosh, she's helped me, and I'm like, okay, I got to give this a go. But whatever. But it wasn't. It was just how it made me feel, right? It made me feel heard. Like I was finally being heard and someone was helping me try and deal with it, right? And that's what I loved about it. To me, and that's what got me in. That's what pulled me in is I like, wow. And every time we did a coaching call, I improved so much the next day. My attitude, the way I approach things, and I actually don't know if that's the question you asked me, if I answered the proper question.
We just follow the river where it goes. It's all good. So, what would you say to a woman who maybe has experienced a grief or a loss, or is noticing that she doesn't feel connected to herself anymore, maybe lacking joy? What would you say to a woman like that who is considering gentle trauma
I
release?
would give her your information and I would tell her that that's the best thing you could do is get a hold of her. But I would also tell her how it made me feel, right? After I would tell them to contact you after I told them, everything, because I would tell them that, it helps you and it makes you feel like you again. And I think that the what we were doing, it worked perfect for me. Like it helped me so much in doing those exercises, the breathing and everything else. It just, yeah, like I said, I still do it because
Yeah,
it
you're
just,
learning practices that you can use as a tool
yes,
towards
yes.
well-being.
Yes, and also the journaling, was it was mentioned in there.
Mhm.
That's really helped me as well, and yeah, I would tell them they definitely need to get a hold of you.
So, how would you describe the version of Tara today compared to before we began this process together?
Happy, content. I want to live life, and I want to live it to the fullest because here today, gone tomorrow. We don't know. And I just want to enjoy it. I want to enjoy it, and I'm finally doing it again, and I feel good. I feel really good.
Yeah, and your face shows it, and it just feels
Yeah.
like you're more living in the now. You're in the present.
Yes, yes.
Mhm.
I am, and I don't I have my memories. They're here and they're here,
Yeah,
and I I'll always cherish the memories that I have, and that was one of the big things that came out of this as well. Everyone comes into your life for a reason, and I believe that I came into my late husband's life to be with him for the rest of his life. So, and things like that. That's how it made me feel. It was like, yeah, he was taken from me. We can't control it, but you could control the rest of your life and not living in that hell is pretty much the way it was, but now I feel great. I'm concentrating on my eating again. I put me first
good.
because before I wasn't.
No.
No, I felt like a doormat before,
Mm.
but I was letting people do that to me.
Yeah, and you just
And
weren't maybe enough in your body and connected enough to your real self at that time.
yeah,
Mhm.
exactly, exactly. So
Yeah,
no, it's the best thing that I've ever done, and I'm so glad I did it.
good. Is there anything else you would share about symptoms that have changed for you, or anything else as far as what looks or feels different for you now?
No, I mean, every day I wake up and I feel good. I feel great. My daughter's getting married in September. We've been busy planning a wedding, and when they first got engaged, I was starting to go through this coaching, and I was not looking forward to this wedding. Now I'm so happy and I'm so excited and I'm so looking forward to this wedding. And I just feel that every day is a blessing.
And now you're able to enjoy this process, this
Yes,
experience,
exactly.
this transition in your daughter's life, right?
Exactly. Yeah.
Excellent. Well, I
Yeah.
appreciate sharing your story. And my hope is that women listening, or even men who've experienced a loss or have been burdened with trauma or multiple losses, knowing that it is possible to be, as you said, like living life to its fullest and not from a place of scarcity, but just taking it all in.
Yes, exactly. Yes.
Great.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for sharing your story.
Well, thank you for letting me share.